Hello everyone, Prime here. I hope that you did enjoy your Christmas. And today we're going to be covering Ninurta, a god from Persian mythology. He was a god of thunder and rainstorms in spring, who was active in the city of Girsu, or Telor, or it might have been called Talar. He was associated with floods, the plough, and farming generally. He looked after farmers, or at least would see worship from them. His original name may be read as Anzu, meaning rain cloud, and in his earliest forms, he appeared as a giant dark-winged bird with roars that thundered and a lion's head. Over time, he was given more human elements, and these animal-like features became symbols. These symbols soon became an ancient enemy of Ninurta. He was also a warrior who used a bow and his mighty Sharua mace, which was able to use speech and reason. He also rides a scorpion-tailed lion creature from time to time in the earlier myths. Now, as for his family, he was the son of Enlil, a supreme deity who made kings, and the goddess of grain, Ninlil, though his mother varies from story to story. He also marries either Gula, a goddess of healing, and in earlier times he may have married Bao. But getting to the good stuff, Enlil holds the tablets of destiny, or has them in his care, and the Anzu bird, who's not Ninurta in this case, was desperate to get his hands on them, or his talons on them, as these tablets held the fate of the gods and mortals. They were so important that they could provide their keeper with instant legitimization of their rule. In other words, they were like an instant king button. This bird is a divine, massive creature who waited for Enlil to wash his face, and then dove down for the tablets, stealing them. Enlil asks the other gods to help him recovering the tablets, but only Ninurta will join him in taking them back. As Ninurta fires some arrows to try and down the Anzu, the bird uses his tablets to reverse time and restore the arrows to their original states, being feathers, quarry, and canebrake. In other words, the arrows couldn't harm this bird. Even the archer's bow is turned back into their original states, or prior states before becoming bow, being the woods and sheep. Ninurta doesn't like to be tested very much though, and moves the south wind, tearing apart Anzu's wings. And then the bird landed. His throat met blade, Enlil gets his tablets back, and I suppose to properly wield these tablets you kind of need to be aware of your surroundings, because both Enlil and Anzu kind of got, well, defeated by the fact that they weren't fully aware of what was going on. Which is kind of a funny flaw in the tablets, a fair flaw, but a funny flaw at the same time. It means all some would need do is literally just steal them as this bird did, and they would gain immense power. I suppose from the story, you could gather that Ninurta was brave, as he was the only god who was willing to help Enlil in restoring his power, and perhaps might even have a strong sense of justice. But it might not be as great as you'd think, because you see, he's also known to take on demons. When Shara, his mace, encouraged him to travel down to the underworld and face Agag or Asag, informing the god that Agag wouldn't be much trouble and that Ninurta was unbelievably strong. Ninurta falls for this talk and goes down to the underworld, but Asag wasn't alone and had a force of plant warriors and rock monsters at his side. Upon seeing this massive army of unique creatures, Ninurta decides to turn tail and flee, but his mace reminds him of all those victories on the field that he won and how glorious he's been in past battles. Ninurta turns around once more, and with his mace, bow, and other abilities in hand, he sweeps aside the oncoming army and defeats Agag. But Agag was important and kept the primeval water from causing troubles. His death meant that these waters would rise beyond the underworld and prevent farmers from growing crops with fresh water. Ninurta sees this and takes the bodies of his fallen foes, constructing a wall around the land until they formed a mountain, trapping the underworld's vile fluids and allowing the farmers to continue in their daily lives. His mother then comes down from the heavens and congratulates her son on his victory. He then dedicates the honor to her and gives her a new title named after the mountain. This might have been the reason why he was credited with having spells which could deal with demons and disease, and also why he might have been associated with healing, aside from the fact that he was married to a goddess of healing. All of that said, he wasn't perfect. Sometime after defeating these foes, Ninurta brings a chick or child of Anzu to the primal, watery depths of Enki's abode. Enki praises him for a bit for all of his victories, but Ninurta isn't happy with what he's accomplished and desired more. In fact, he grows angry at these compliments because it's not good enough. Setting his sights on the whole world, Enki then fashions a giant turtle from Ninurta's thoughts, which he spawns behind our bowman. The turtle latches down and chews on Ninurta's ankle, and as they do battle, the turtle digs a great pit, which they both plummet into. Enki then peers down into the pit and mocks Ninurta, who's having his feet gnawed on by a turtle. It's unknown how exactly the story ended, but apparently it was created to bring Ninurta down a peg, and as he was getting a bit big for his boots, I guess that's fair enough. The ancient Sumerians worshipped Ninurta as a god of agriculture and as Enlil's son, Enlil being the chief god of the pantheon. Probably should have mentioned that earlier, but after some time, he became an honored warrior god to the Assyrians, and it was common for Assyrian kings to use Ninurta somewhere in their names, like Tuk-L-Ti Ninurta, meaning the trusted one of Ninurta, or Ninurta Apal-Ikur. Ninurta is the heir of Enlil's temple, Ikur. I do apologize for those pronunciations. One king claimed in an inscription that he hunts at the command of god Ninurta, who loves me. Other kings declared that Ninurta and other gods supported their reigns, and that the destruction that he would cause for his enemies was justified thanks to his right to rule. These kings also built statues and temples dedicated to the worship and honor of Ninurta. When the Assyrian Empire fell, statues of Ninurta were taken down or destroyed, and his temples were left to face time itself, thanks to the fact that their association with fearsome empire had more or less scarred Ninurta's name in the minds of many. These kings gave a lot of thanks to the god, so you can only imagine how upset people must have been. The Assyrians conquered many peoples and proved to be quite tyrannical. Assyrian kings documented their military achievements and atrocities amongst those of previous kings and for all to see. I suppose there was a bit of competition and they successfully held their control for generations, hence why it even gets to be called an empire, the Assyrian Empire, right? Sorry, no, that's wrong. That's why the empire got to survive for so long and witness so many kings. That's what I meant to say. When they captured land, they'd inflict suffering on their defeated foes to dissuade violence against them, and usually showed little mercy to those captured, unless they proved to be of some great use. According to records discovered by archaeologists, some of this stuff is a little messed up, so before we continue here, just so you know, I warned you, you could skip 30 seconds or a minute or so into the future, or you could not, but yeah. Assyrians were known to flay victims by pulling strips of flesh of their skin from people, decapitation, impaling victims with some sort of sharp object, preferably piercing some sort of organ, and then leaving them to bleed to death or die from the injury or die because their vital organ has been pierced, introducing flame to young children and babies whilst they're alive, I should add, removing needed body parts including tongues, hands, and even private parts from people. I could go on, but I think you more or less get the point that people really didn't like this empire and the sorts of things that they did. So you can imagine why Ninurta, being the god that's more or less the face of this empire and who was commonly used, would have his temples taken down and removed. Sort of like a censorship deal. But I guess considering the horrible things that this empire tended to do, maybe it was also an extra bit of revenge. I'm not sure, but there you go. But that was the video on Ninurta, Persian god. Someone requested that I did this ages ago, and I went back and watched a few of my Mesopotamian videos and just felt like learning a bit more about Persian and Mesopotamian mythology. So here we are. I hope you did enjoy, and if you did, go ahead and leave a like and of course subscribe. Now if there are any other Persian or Mesopotamian gods that you'd like me to cover next, I really want to find out more about this pantheon, so go ahead and leave some suggestions if you want for gods that I should cover next in the comments below, because I'm kind of on that sort of love train right now. So yeah, and until the next video, have a very good day. I've been Prime. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.